This is brutally honest advice from my younger, insecure self on how to actually build real bulletproof confidence. Hey, I'm Marcus Chan, founder of Bentley Consulting Group, in which we provide modern sales training and coaching for reps and teams so you can blow out your sales targets, earn $250,000 plus, and become the elite sales pro you've dreamed of. Prior to this, I was in corporate sales and sales leadership, in which I hit and exceeded my quota 13 years in a row, doing 100 to 250% plus, and hit club literally almost every single year. So if you see me today, most people would probably say that I have confidence and times even borderline overconfidence. But here's the thing, that's not how I was growing up. So I'm going to share with you today 6 things that I did to build my confidence, which ultimately helped me in sales, relationship, and life. If you watch to the end, you'll learn why 5 and 6 together have the biggest impact. Let's dive in. Number 1, be brutally honest with all your weaknesses. You can do all the affirmations in the world, the craziest morning routine, but that won't change the fact that you probably suck or is not as good as you hope you'd be at whatever it is that's making you feel insecure. So first, start off by making a list of all the areas that make you feel insecure. This is incredibly painful, but really necessary. You want to be able to stack and prioritize them on what will actually have the greatest impact if you fix them. This is probably by far one of the hardest steps to first do because you have to really face your demons. And I'm gonna give you actually 3 really specific examples in my own personal life. Number 1. One of my biggest insecurities, especially growing up, that I wasn't really willing to face, my ability to speak in public at any time. This is not even like in front of a crowd. This could be literally just even raising my hand in elementary school, just sharing an idea or asking a question, deathly scared of it. A lot of it really stemmed from not speaking until I was 4 years old, having a speech impediment, getting made fun of by other kids, having to go to special speech therapy classes. It was a thing that was just ongoing, especially in elementary school, but I wasn't really willing to face that I was really insecure or lacked confidence in it. I was just like, I'm just a shy kid. For the most part, this never really impacted me that much. And obviously, teachers will always give me feedback, my report cards that I need to participate more, engage more, and do those type of things. But that was really it. Now, for me personally, I didn't really see it as a problem until about the age of 10, 11 years old, where I actually started getting really into doing like street magic, a little nerdy. Years ago at that time, David Blaine was a street magician. We're on TV. He'd go around and would just meet random people and do incredible magic tricks. And I started getting really into it. Yeah, I know, totally nerdy. But here's the thing, because I had zero confidence in my ability to speak in public or talk to even strangers, needless to say, talk to even people I know, that was a huge obstacle for me to overcome. So I had to really face that fear and really look myself in the mirror and be like, man, like if I really want to actually do magic and like impress people and do cool tricks with my friends or family or people I don't know, I need to be able to get really good at this. And that's when I started really working at it and practicing something that had actually overcome that. So that was example number 1. Another good example is I'm probably a little bit older, maybe 12 or 13. And at this point, I've been competing in competitive swimming for a couple years now, and it's getting pretty good. But what was interesting was around the same time, like literally a lot of my friends and buddies that we grew up with swimming, they were all like hitting puberty. They were growing, putting on pounds of muscle, and they're getting taller. I basically say the same height. I think I was probably 5 foot tall around that 11 or 12 age range. But on top of that, maybe really insecure was like I was super scrawny, like just a really scrawny little physique. So not only was like a little guy, 5 feet, I had this little scrawny physique. And they all made fun of me, right? Because they're going through puberty, they're getting taller, they're getting more muscular. And for me, I was starting to go through puberty too, a little TMI, but I was still just like this little scrawny little Asian kid. That really bothered me. Again, I'm gonna share some of the things I'm gonna talk about today to get to that point. But my point is, it's me being aware of what's actually making me insecure versus trying to fake it till I make it or some sort of BS that you see on some of these other YouTube videos. And another good example is when I was at 22, started my first B2B sales job. And frankly, I thought I'd be good. I try to be overly confident. I try to be that fake, the over extroverted salesperson. But my results were absolutely terrible. And I thought by just being overly faking my confidence, trying to be overly confident, pretending I knew what I was doing, that people would just trust me and believe me and I'd have results, but it didn't work. And it just kept getting worse and worse. And I really had to face my demons of realizing I really am not good at my job. So again, the example from my personal life to my professional life is that first step of making any type of change is literally being able to look in the mirror and be like, all right, these are legitimate, real weaknesses of mine, If I really want to overcome them, then I need to do something about that. So number one, be really clear on exactly what your weaknesses are, because then you can do something about it. Which leads to number two, which is you got to eliminate what kills your confidence. Whether we realize it or not, there are a lot of things in our lives that drain our confidence. I think a big one a lot of times is probably the people we spend the time with. This could be friends, coworkers, teammates. Are those people who are actually draining your confidence? So I'll give you a real example. I don't want to say my name, but there was a coworker when I first started my B2B sales job. He's a little bit older than me, and I looked up to him. He was very confident, almost overly confident, and he would always make fun of me. He'd always tease me. He'd tease how I sounded on cold calls. He'd tease me about my results. He'd tease me how I'm going to stay in this role forever until I get fired. He probably thought maybe it's pushing me. It would make me more motivated, but actually it didn't. It killed my confidence, especially when I already knew I wasn't performing, but now I'm having someone else push me down and beat me down. That didn't really help. Learning to separate myself away from something, not be around that person, was actually better for me because I was already hard on myself. I didn't need someone else tell me that. So that's a good example right there. Or if you have maybe friends or other people, if they're bringing you down, how can you eliminate them from your life, at least at this moment, because they're definitely not serving you. They're only hurting your confidence. Another example is the social media highlight reel. So I've also found too, in anything I'm doing, if I'm trying to improve whatever, sometimes if I see too much of the highlight reel on social media, it's gonna be on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, whatever. If I'm just seeing everyone's quote unquote winning with their dream life and here I'm struggling, that kills my confidence even more. And I know comparisons to the thief of joy, but ultimately, this is actually why I have so many tools that basically hide my feed so I don't see my feed, because that doesn't serve me at all. I'm trying to control my focus. So eliminate stuff like that. Like the third thing, the news. I'll go back to my example of being bad at sales, right? So being bad at sales, like not only was I getting beat down from the coworker at work, who eventually my manager actually, which was terrible, but him just beating me down, at least at the time, was already hard. And then here I am seeing how successful people are on Facebook, which was really popular at the time. And then on top of that, I'm also listening to the news, which is purely negative. I'm like, man, it just killed my confidence. It just made me feel worse and worse and worse. So that's why it's really key to just eliminate or minimize those type of things that actually kill your confidence, because it's really hard to be successful if you're mentally stuck in a very dangerous place. If you jump into a 50-degree ice cold lake and you're trying to stay warm by just moving around, you can do your best, you can work super hard at it, but at the end of the day, your environment right around you, it's super cold. It's gonna be very hard to get warm up to the body temperature you actually need to get to, and you're gonna have to get out soon. So again, you have to eliminate what actually kills your confidence. Number three, skill development. Here's the truth. You lack confidence because you lack the skills in whatever it is you're doing. For example, if you have never driven a car before, you're more than likely going to lack the confidence with driving. Now, if you have taken driving school and you have physical time and hours driving quite a bit, your skills are going to be higher, and so is your confidence. Me, it's about sales again. Because I lack skills in sales, first me just trying to work really hard and grind, play the activity game, that did not build my confidence. So I do those two things I mentioned, and then to increase my skills, I didn't just hope time would increase my skills. I knew I actually actively work at it. So what did I first start doing? I started to literally read voraciously, going to the library, buying books. I started to attend conferences. I bought courses. I hired coaches. I joined masterminds. And ultimately, this gave me a path for success to start increasing my skills. This is really important. The reality is eventually, especially in a role like sales, people will uncover what you actually are not good at. For example, I've seen some people who interview for a sales role that potentially is a far more challenging role that requires more skills than they're actually claiming that they have. They get into the role because maybe they're just a great interviewer, or maybe they have some connections, but once they're actually in the role, now they're getting exposed because now they have a big quota on their head they have to deliver on, but they lack the skills to actually do what they need to do to fill the pipeline up, navigate complex sales cycles, close the deals quickly, and be able to deliver on a high number. And they could try to fake it till they make it as much as they can, but eventually they will get exposed because the results simply are not there. And the crappy part is if they don't realize that they're missing the skill piece and they just keep trying to work really hard, what ends up happening is they'll probably end up getting fired or laid off, or just something's going to happen where they get removed from the job. What's going to happen to their confidence? It's going to get shot down as a result. That's why it's really key, especially if you're feeling insecure in whatever it is, you're taking the time to actually increase your skills and have a clear path for success. But on top of that, this next one is super vital, which is number 4. Trade fake it until you make it for walk it until you talk it. I heard this phrase, I think from Alex Ramosi a while back, and I absolutely loved it because I remember thinking years ago, I used to believe you got to fake it till you make it. I used to totally think that I need to act confident. I need to act a certain way. But this is so wrong. The key is to walk it until you talk it. This means doing the hard things every single day. This is actually earning your stripes. This is the price for success. So for example, cold calling. Especially early on, I was absolutely terrible at cold calling. And I did what most people did when they are just not good at cold calling. They're like, oh, I'm not getting results. What do I need to do? Let me increase my numbers. If I'm making 100 calls, make 200 calls. And then let me just keep increasing the number. And hopefully I'll just book by law of activity. And yeah, you probably will get some results, but not necessarily great results. I just didn't get any results, frankly, because I just wasn't that good, right? So I knew if I wanted to get really good at cold calling, I had to actually master how I sounded on the phones. And the issue I also found as well was, let's just say if I made 100 calls, if I had a 10% connect rate, let's say that it's only 10 chances I had to actually book a meeting. And chances were throughout the day, I would botch it and not book the meeting and book 0 out of 10 essentially. So I realized the dialing part wasn't something I needed to practice with. I needed to have actually better skills, and I need to actually get better and then get the repetition in of actually doing the live conversations. So what did I do to master it, aside from just making hundreds of calls up front? What I realized was that I needed to practice this far more. So after hours, I would be practicing my conversations with a decision maker, literally role-playing out loud exactly what I should say when they answer the phone, how to overcome their objections, give myself all objections, and I did it over and over for really hours on end. On top of that, I had a pretty decent commute, which is about 2 hours per day on the road, just driving to and from work. So instead of listening to music, listening to the news, what I did was I literally role-played out loud those phone scripts from start to finish, going through the toughest situation, every possible objection, imagining that I would get 4 or 5 objections on the phone and being able to hammer through it. And I did it over and over and over and over for my car ride. So literally, this gave me dozens of extra repetitions every single day. So when you think about this, by me just doing an extra 2 hours a day in the car, 5 days a week, that's 10 hours of extra repetition, like literally earning my stripes and building my confidence of how I sound on the phone. So this way, when I did get on the phones with people and I had the 10% connect rate, if I had 5 or 10 conversations, I had far more repetition than anybody else on my team or really in the company, because I was doing these things that people weren't willing to do. I was doing the hard things every single day. And imagine this compounds over time. So it wasn't just doing it 1 week I did this. Every single day on my car ride for the first year. So you can imagine how much that compounds over time, because that's literally hundreds of hours now that add up over time of practicing with that repetition that most people are just to do. So that's an example how I'm trading that fake it until you make it for actually walk it until I talk it. So when I was on the phones with people, I sounded like the pro because I'd done it so many times. I didn't need to think. It was pure muscle memory, which leads me to number 5 of building your confidence, which is consistency. We talked about this before, but confidence really stems from your experiences. So the more you do something, the more confidence you're going to build. I always picture it's a lot like a bank account in which everything you do either is a deposit into your bank account or withdrawal from bank account. For example, by me committing to role-playing in my car 2 hours a day, consistently, I'm doing deposits into my confidence bank account and my skill in cold calling. And the days I didn't do it, actually withdraw from my bank account. So this is why it's really key to constantly be working at it and being really consistent with it, because that builds a lot of repetition and it builds a lot of confidence. Another example. So let's talk about sales. So some people say, hey, you're pretty confident. But here's the reality. From a sales perspective, I personally have been on over 10,000 sales calls in the last 17 years. Like, think about that for a second. Literally over 10,000 sales calls. By being on that many actual live calls with real live prospects, this is not including the practices, not including the things I would do just to practice, get myself right and like get mentally ready, right? This is literally on live calls with real prospects in the last 17 years, over dozens of industries, or really thousands of different types of personalities and different types of people in different types of weird situations. Because of that, this gives me an insane amount of confidence, backed also by the repetitions I've actually done. And here's the thing, because I still do sales calls to this day, it only further adds to my confidence. Think about this. Who's going to have more confidence? Somebody who reads 10,000 sales books, or somebody who has run 10,000 sales calls? Now, if you've done both, you can have an insane amount of confidence. This is also known as the 10,000 hour rule that Malcolm Gladwell mentioned in his book Outliers: A Story of Success. In a nutshell, what it talks about is true expertise is built by practicing something the right way for 10,000 hours. An emphasis on the right way, because if you're doing the wrong things, you're not going to be great. So for example, I've seen some people who have said they have been in sales for 15, 20 years, but they haven't been that successful. They're going from job to job. They're never really actually winning consistently year after year. That tells me they're not doing it the right way. And it's not uncommon for me to meet someone who says, oh, I have 15 years experience, but the results don't show it. But what they really have is 1 year experience repeated 15 times. True expertise is built by doing the right things the right way for 10,000 hours. This is not sexy at all. It is not fun at all. But it's how real expertise is actually built. Theory can't beat real world application. It's like a few months back, my washer completely broke. And I took a look inside, and I don't know what it's called, the rubber seal around basically popped off completely, and I couldn't get it back into place. I'm like, this is weird. And I have zero experience in fixing and replacing this. But what did I do first? I YouTubed it, I Googled it. I'm like, okay, I think it's gonna be this part. I think I would have to pull apart this way and actually replace it. But I'm like, I don't have time for that. That'll probably take me at least 4 or 5 hours. I don't have time to do that. Let me just hire someone to come take a look at that. I'm not 100% confident in my skills there, but this is what I believe to be the issue. I have somebody come in, amazing reviews. They've been doing this for 20 years. This is their business. Owner comes out, starts to diagnose it. Within 10, 15 minutes, diagnoses 3 other core problems that actually cause that seal to basically pop off. Now again, this is based off because this guy has done his 10,000 hours in washer repairs. So within minutes, he's able to diagnose the actual legitimate problem and recommend a better solution, which would cost more than replacing the washer. So he's recommending buying a new washer. Because I didn't have confidence in it, if I just tried to solve it that way, I probably would have ordered the part, tried to figure it out, taken it all apart, only to realize I just wasted like $300 buying parts and it wasn't the right issue. So only hire someone else out, and it would have cost me far more. So again, theory can't build real world consistent application. If you've done steps 1 through 5 consistently over time of doing the right things of that 10,000 hour rule, you're going to have a lot of confidence in whatever you're doing. Now, if you implement number 6, this will take your confidence to a whole new level because you're going to stack confidence, because number 6 is repeating it in multiple domains. Because the reality is confidence doesn't always transfer across other domains. For example, Michael Jordan had a lot of confidence in basketball. He's one of the GOATs, one of the greatest of all times. But what happened when he went to baseball? He probably had confidence of going into there, maybe trying to fake it till he make it a little bit. When he went to baseball, actually was not good. He didn't last that long, so he had to stop doing baseball. Confidence doesn't always transfer across domains. For example, you can be confident in speaking with CEOs of SaaS companies, but then be less confident speaking with CEOs of manufacturing companies. The more you can repeat the confidence cycle in multiple domains, the more your confidence is actually going to build, especially if they are really related. For example, sales for me. And I shared some examples or even earlier how I built confidence in maybe specific parts of like cold calling, etc. But for me, one of the gifts I was given early on was I was selling to literally dozens of industries. So because I sold to dozens of industries, this helped me build a lot of confidence to sell to whomever I was having a conversation with, whether it was in manufacturing, industrial businesses, to software businesses, to consulting businesses, to healthcare, to cloud server. It literally just because I sold to so many different industries, it built me a lot of confidence. And on top of that, because it was a complex sale, I sold to a lot of different stakeholders. So this built me a lot of confidence. But then on top of that, by doing that successfully, then getting promoted to a sales manager and running a team and still selling, carrying the bag and helping them do it, this built my confidence. I could still continue to sell to all these different industries, but also teach others on how to do it as well. I decided to change industries in 2011 and do it again. Go back selling, again, build my confidence again, selling dozens in different industries, and then get promoted to be a sales manager. Doing the same thing, teaching other people to do it, making them successful, and to be an executive leader, running teams and teams of people, having dozens of reps underneath me, and then being able to do the same thing over and over, and then to my own business. And each time I'll tell you, when I made that leap to different domains, my confidence went down because I was like, can I do it again? So even when I started my own business, can I do what I've done for other companies for myself? Then when I was able to do it over time and build up my confidence and build a business from scratch as well. So another really good example is Arnold Schwarzenegger. So love him or hate him, but he's done some pretty incredible things. So coming from Austria to becoming a world-class bodybuilder, world-renowned, winning, I think, 7 Mr. Olympias, crushing it and building confidence in that domain. But on top of that, while he is doing that, he's also built a really successful multiple 7-figure business. From there, transferring that over to acting, okay? And became one of the biggest action stars in the world, all right? And then again, another transition to becoming the governor of California. And then another transition to best-selling author and so much more. And I share these examples with you is when you're able to cross domains, doing the same cycle I mentioned, the 5 steps, but you do it over and over and over in different domains. When you start combining together, you start stacking your confidence over and over time. Again, this is not sexy. It's not easy. It's really hard. It requires consistency. It's definitely not something you can just do overnight. And if you just try to fake it till you make it, you're going to get lackluster results. But if you actually walk until you talk it and you run these 6 steps, you'll see your confidence will build whenever you're struggling with, whether this is in prospecting, cold calling, executive conversations, sales, or whatever it is that is actually sapping your confidence. So there you have it. Some brutally honest advice, how to actually build your confidence in 6 steps to do it. Now, if you want our help to help boost your sales skills, increase your sales confidence, head below book called My Team, see if it's a good fit for our coaching programs. And if you want to boost your confidence, how you actually close and get yourself to over a 40% close rate, I'll see you in this next video right here.